Southend Pier, first built over 100 years ago to allow Londoners to get ashore from the boats that brought them down the Thames in the 19th century. The clean fresh air of Southend was so inviting. But of course the pier has got a turbulent past. It's not always been so plain sailing. The pier was taken over by the Royal Navy during World War II, has been rebuilt after traumatic fires scorched the wooden planks, has been home to a theatre, amusements and a hall of mirrors.
The pier has been a constant presence in Southend, and without it, our local history would be different. Currently, the pier stands at 1 mile and a third long, home to celebrity chefs and the Royal National Lifeboat institutions. We've recently had brand new trains and a visit from the Spanish galleon. We are going to find out as much as we can about the longest pleasure pier in the world.
We are here to visit the Pier Museum and speak to some of the fantastic people who keep the legacy of the pier alive and why it's so important to Southend. What was the original reason for building the original pier?
Well, it was for the boats. The chap who used to live up in the Royal Terrace, he used to watch out his window, and they started steamboats running down the Thames, and they used to go round to Margate. And they never stopped here because they couldn't get in because it's not deep enough to there, especially when the tide was out, they couldn't unload their passengers. So he got a new pier built so that they could have the steamboats and the passengers come down from London.
Oh, I see.
Because in those days, the early days, the only way of getting into Southend from outside was stagecoach.
In 1830, a 600-foot pier was opened in Southend.
In 1846, they extended the pier to 1 mile.
The ships still could not dock at the pier in low tide, so they stented it again.
How long just genuinely is the pier?
How long? 1.34 miles, which is 2.14 kilometres. Where the station is now, that used to be the pier head. But then if you had a very low tide, the ships couldn't get into the pier head, so they extended it to where the new one is now, the new pier head. Yeah.
How long does it take to walk to the end of the pier?
Walk, I think they reckon about 20 minutes, depends how fast you walk. It's about 1 mile from here to the station, 1.25 miles to the end of the pier.
Oh, wow.
So they reckon you could do it in about 20 minutes.
And how long is it from when you get on the train? Is it like
Train's only about 8 minutes on the train journey.
Would you make the pier shorter?
No, it wouldn't be any good if it's shorter.
In 1872, the first horse, a cart, was used to take passengers up and down the pier.
When did the trains turn to electric?
Right. Originally the trains were horse-drawn, so they're pulled along by a horse on the road, and then as time went on and we got electrical power in Southend, they made the electric train on the pier, and it was one of the first piers to have an electric train, so that was quite an achievement for Southend. As time went on, they changed from electric to diesel. This was a diesel train. This was in 1986. And then shortly after that, the new trains, which are battery trains, so they are electric but battery rather than mains power, they come on board about 2 years ago. The new pier train will carry about 258 passengers. I mean, that will mean some will be standing, some will be seated, but roughly 258 passengers. Now, this is the 1949 train, one of the first electric trains that was ever on a pier. When the train was going to the end of the pier, people would sit on the seats in this position. Because when the train got to the end, the seats were around the wrong way. So very clever design, just put the seats back and sit this way to go back to the landing. So that's quite a unique design. It's all been restored, this carriage. It's been restored for several years now. And it's in quite good condition generally. But I quite like this idea because it's just quite unique.
Richard Brown, who is the treasurer of the Pier Museum, is going to show us the old sign box that was bolted to the side of the pier.
This is the signal box which you've just seen. It used to be bolted to the side of the pier in the days when there were 2 tracks on the pier and they could run 4 trains at the same time. And if you have 2 tracks, you need to have some sort of control, and these levers were situated at one end of the pier in the signal box, and they control the points to allow you to move the trains around, and the signals which allow you to tell the driver when to go and when to stop. So would somebody like to come and have a go at this? What you've got to do is to imagine there is a train in the station and we're going to let it go out of the station. So I wonder if you could come here and try and move point number 4. Put it forwards, that's right, and squash the 2 together inside your hands, that's right, that's it, and then bring it down, bring it right back. Now you move the points, and then you've got to move the signal to tell the driver to go, and down it goes. Right, now you've let the train go out of the station, and once it's gone out of the station, you've got to put them back again. Make sure you get them in the right order. If you don't get them in the right order, it doesn't work. That's right. That's it. Good. We weren't actually controlling the train, of course, because it's running all on its own. And that's what they used to do. And a man had to stand here for 12 hours or something during the whole time the pier was open, using these levers and controlling the trains all the time. It must have been fairly boring, wasn't it?
In 1887, they started changing the wood to iron to make the pier a bit stronger.
The locals thought it was far too expensive. There was concern that the wood used for the planks on the walkway were rotting. The project was almost stopped several times.
The iron pier was finally completed in 1889 and cost roughly £70,000. £10,000 of the cost was spent on the new electric railway.
And Stanchion is opened in 1898, making it the longest pier in the world.
On the 29th of July 1976, a brutal fire damaged the pierhead. The wooden structure crackled and burnt under the heat of the flames, and the image of Southend was slowly being destroyed. Thankfully, there were no injuries or deaths. The cause of the fire remains a mystery, but it's been said that the 4-hour inferno started at a near restaurant. Repairs were estimated at £1.4 million.
The world's longest pier has been devastated by fire.
A landmark in flames, Southend Pier going up in smoke for the second time in 20 years. Fire took hold of the roof of a bowling alley and ripped through in a matter of minutes.
As the flames devoured the wooden structure, a pall of black smoke rose hundreds of feet into the air.
Hundreds line the seafront to watch as the building burned.
In the summer of 1995, the pier suffered once more. Luckily, there were no injuries or fatalities. All services to the pier were aborted as 30 odd metres of the chat was damaged.
A year after that, the much-loved bowling alley was damaged in flames. The whole railway became a hazard, so it had to be closed. This was a sad day.
In autumn of 2005, a terrible inferno burnt much of the old pier head, including all the leisure facilities such as the restaurant and gift shop.
We visited the Royal National Lifeboat Institution in Southend, where crew member Tony Clark answered some very important questions.
My name is Tony Clark. I am the Vice Chairman of the Fundraising Committee. This is my second stint at Southend Lifeboat and have been here for the past 6 years. We are one of the busiest coastal stations in the country. Our average calls per year is somewhere around 110, 120 calls a year.
Do you like your job?
It's not a job as such, Sarah. It's more a calling. We're all here as volunteers at Southend Lifeboat. It's the fact that you can go out and help people in distress and get them ashore safely and get them home to their loved ones. The station is on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So that does include Christmas Day, Boxing Day, New Year's Day, birthdays. We do have a rota system for weekends, but Monday to Friday it's whichever crew is within a 3-mile radius of the station. The crew doesn't work as such, as they will only be down here when we have a call, when we have a shout for assistance. You have to work and live within a 3-mile radius of the station in order for us to get the 10-minute response time to launch the boats from the time the pages go off. A lot of crew will be doing that, or a number of crew will be doing that anyway.
Do some of the crew have like other jobs?
Oh, we've all got jobs.
Oh, okay.
All the crew have jobs of other types.
Yeah, so if a pager goes off, are you allowed to just leave work and come down here? How does that work?
You have to have an understanding with your employer. Most employers are very helpful.
Yeah.
And will allow you to leave your work.
Yeah. How many crew do you have in each lifeboat?
Here, in each lifeboat, in our D-class lifeboat, we have 3 crew, a helm, a navigator and a crew member. With our Atlantic 85, we have 4 crew. With the hovercraft, we have a hovercraft pilot, hovercraft commander and a crew member.
What qualifications do you need?
None, to be quite honest with you. All we ask of you is to give your time, a dedication, and we will help you with anything you need to become lifeboat crew and hopefully work up through the crew to become either a helm of the boats or the hovercraft commander or pilot.
How long has there been 3 lifeboats and 1 hovercraft? Our
hovercraft came in 2003 and has been here ever since. We are only one of 4 stations to have a hovercraft. The RNLI had put hovercrafts wherever there is an expanse of mud at low tide. Like here at Southend, when the tide goes out, we have a lot of mud.
Do you save animals?
Do we save animals? Yes, we do. Recently, 2 years ago, our hovercraft was called out to 2 beached dolphins to the west of the Canby. They had buried themselves in the mud to keep themselves moist. We went out there, met up with an animal society, lifted them up, recovered them, took them to the sea and released them. This is our life jacket. It can be inflated by the crew. It carries safety lines so the crew can clip on to a casualty if they're put on another boat. It also has lots of other equipment that they may need carried in these pouches. So yes, we have to wear this when we go afloat at all times.
And do you have any tea breaks?
Only once the shout is complete, we put the boat away and then we can have a tea break. That is actually part of the shore crew's responsibility to ensure that the crew do have a cup of tea when they get ashore.
Do you find that it's this time of year where you get more emergencies with the schools being out and people playing in the sea in the hot weather?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is what we term as our silly season.
Silly season.
Yeah, we will get more calls. This is where we get our greatest number of calls.
How do you call a lifeboat?
How do you call a lifeboat?
Yeah.
Quite simply, you dial 999 and ask for the Coast Guard. We work with the Coast Guard. We are not part of the Coast Guard.
How important is Southend Pier to the RNLI here in Southend?
It's important to us because we have our Atlantic 85 down there as well as another D-boat. We are the only station in the country. We are a unique station in that we have a lifeboat station at either end of the longest pleasure pier in the world. So yes, the pier is important to us.
My memory of the pier is a really personal one. When I was young, my brothers were very lucky and old enough to go and see the new Jurassic Park film. I wasn't old enough to go and see the film. So my grandma felt quite sorry for me and decided to take me up the pier for a treat. And it's a very special memory because firstly, I love my grandma, and secondly, it was a very special time and I'll always remember it.
My memory for a long time when I went on a pier with Mum and Dad when we did St End of the Pier for the Westcliff Legion. We did some rolls and everything and we was getting busy and it was a lovely hot day for it. And my dad helped out as well and I've got lots of memory because I miss him.
Remember going bowling with my friends and just a nice sunny day and chatting to some of the people that was out bowling with us.
I went down the pier with my mum. My mum treated me to fish and chips and ice cream. I've got good thoughts about my mum.
I remember when I was 6 years old, walking along the pier with my mum, frightened of falling in the water because in case the planks got loose. And I had a nice ice cream in the cafe and a nice cup of tea, and that was a lovely memory.
I went down the seafront with my dad and we played a lot of the arcade games. He treated me to fish and chips, got an ice cream. It was a nice memory when I was younger.
When I was with my mum and dad, we went bowling on the pier. It was so good. They brought me drinks and food to go with it. And then after, I also smelt the sea. And also we got fish and chips and an ice cream after. I was only 5, 6, and it was the best day of my life going on the pier.